All right, to make this cute little chubby bat, I am using Parfait Chunky. I'm currently using Iris. This is a size 6, super bulky. You can really use any yarn that you want to. Just make sure that your hook size matches your yarn size. So I like to make sure that my hook and my yarn are very similar in size. So currently I'm using a 5 point. And then you are also going to need some black for the mouth and a little bit of white acrylic for the fangs. And I have my favorite little curved needle. I use a stitch marker. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can just use a different color yarn to keep track. And then I used, I believe, 14mm eyes for this little guy. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to start with a magic ring, and I have a full slow tutorial on how to do a magic ring or magic circle on my channel here, and I recommend you go and watch that, but I'm going to quickly go through it. Now, I am using Parfait Chunky, and it has a tendency to fray and shred when you're working and trying to pull that magic circle. So what I'm going to use is just a piece of acrylic or cotton yarn, and I'm going to create this little loop here, and then over here I'm going to create my slip. Okay, there's my slip knot. And I'm going to keep that. This is a little tricky, but it's nice because then I'm not going to have to worry about the chenille fraying on me. Now, if the magic ring is just not your style, you can also always chain 2 and then crochet into that second chain from the hook. Okay, so now I have it slip knotted, chained onto that loop. I'm going to create my first single crochet, create my second single crochet, and third. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull that a little bit smaller, and we are doing 8 here. So that was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now because I'm using the acrylic, I'm just going to pull nice and tight. Opposite direction, brings them together, and then at this point I definitely tie everything up. I'm going to tie my acrylic yarn together as well as tie my chenille yarn tail. You can see it's frayed. And then that I can snip smaller, and that'll just get tucked inside the body, so we don't have to worry about that. So there is my 8 single crochet into my magic ring. And then we're going to go here, we're going to increase in each single crochet. So to increase, we are going to do 2 singles in each stitch. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and let's make sure I have 8. Did I mess up? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, the 8th one got a little bit away from me. So let's see if I can just squeeze another one into my magic ring here. Yes, okay, there's my 8th because I lost my first one. And that's the nice thing about when you're starting out, you can manipulate it a little bit. I'm going to go 2 single crochet into this first one. So that's my first single crochet, and I'm going to pause and put my stitch marker in. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use just a different colored yarn. Okay, and then I'm going to go into that same hole. It's a little hard with this purple but I am going to go into that same hole. I'm going to grab my yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to keep going around. So 2. So an increase is just 2 single crochets into the same hole. I'll do that again here. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. You're going to repeat that around. So at the end, you should have 16 single crochets. Okay, all right, so I got to the end and I noticed my acrylic is poking through and I don't want that end, and tug a little. Now, typically I would go in with the same color, so I would have found like a purple to somewhat match, but now it's tucked away. This next round is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, and you're going to repeat that around. 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and again an increase is 2 inside 1 stitch. 1, put my stitch marker back, and then I'm going to go 2 inside this one. 1, 2, and it repeats. Single crochet, increase. 1, 2. I'm going to continue that around and meet you back at the end there. I want to show you so you can check that you have them and you can see the difference. So if you get lost somewhere, you can see you have a single crochet here and then an increase right here where it's 2 single crochets in one. Our next 2 rounds are going to be super simple. We're going to just do a single crochet all the way around. So you should have 24 all the way around. I'm just going to do the first couple stitches with you and then I'm going to fast forward to the end. I'll meet you at the end of round 4. Okay, we've got to the end of round 4 and we're going to do that one more time to get through round 5. So again, single crochet. So I'm going to single crochet, add my stitch marker, and then I am going to continue around and I will meet you at the end of round 5. All right, we've reached the end of round 5, and you might have noticed that it started to curl on you. What you're looking for is to pop out so that the right side is facing out and the wrong side is facing in. And this is considered the wrong side by many. This is where your tail is, and it's got more of that like bumpier look, whereas this side is just a cleaner stitch. Our next one is going to be going from 24 to 8. In order to do that, we're going to single crochet 2, and then we are going to decrease. And now I use an invisible decrease, so I'll walk you through that in just a minute here. Single crochet 1, add your stitch marker, single crochet 2. Now we're going to do our invisible decrease. And in order to do the invisible decrease, we're going to be working in the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. So if you look here, there are 2 loops. We're going to be working in the front loop here and then the front loop here. Step 1 is through this first front loop, and then we're going to grab through the next front loop. And sometimes I need to twist and hook through in order to grab it. So at this point I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And so that's your first invisible decrease. I'm going to repeat that. Single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then we're going to do that invisible decrease one more time. I'm going to hook through the front loop, then I'm going to loop around and hook through the second front loop. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull through both of those loops, then I'm going to yarn over and pull through the rest. Okay, and so we're going to repeat this all the way around. 2 single, 1 decrease, and then I will meet you at the end of this round. We've reached the end of round 6. So now we're going to do 3 rounds of single crochet. Again, we're going to go just all the way around, and we're going to do that 3 times. So I'm not going to stop at each round, just meet me at the end. So again, 3 times around with a single crochet, and this will be my first, and that's why your stitch markers are important. If you want to even leave something there and then so you can count the rows up, you can. But here we go. Single crochet around for 3 rounds. Now we are starting to see the shape of our little bat. So we're working from bottom up. We're gonna put in some eyes in a little bit and we'll finish off with its head. Alright, for this row, it is a single crochet decrease, single crochet decrease, and that'll get us to 12. Now before I get too far, I am going to put in some eyes. So these little ones are a little smaller than I would prefer. My eyes are in, and now I'm getting close to the end, so I'm going to start stuffing. And I like to put the stuffing in and then spread it to the edges so that I keep stuffing towards the center and push it around to those edges. Okay, and then I'm going to keep going. And I realize these eyes are definitely way too small. I'm going to take them out. They just fell out. So I'm going to get a little bit bigger eye. Put those in. Give myself a little bit of space so I can put in some fangs. Now I'm going to go in and continue that round where I am doing my single crochet and then my decrease. And you're just going to go all the way around until you reach that stitch marker again, and I will meet you there. For our final round for the body, we are going to do 6 decreases around, and then I'll show you how to finish off. I'm going to decrease here, so through the front loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. So now I'm going to stitch marker that up, and I'm going to repeat that 5 more times, and then I will meet you back at that stitch marker. Now that I've reached the end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stitch marker off. I'm going to pull a loop to snip my yarn. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my loop and I'm going to pull it all the way out. And then I'm going to tighten that up. Now I want to finish filling in my stuffing. A little bat here. I'm gonna shove it in his head there. Now that he is fully stuffed, we're gonna go ahead and weave in to the front loops of each of these stitches so that we can close it off. I'm gonna get my needle. Now this is very big. I usually like working with a smaller one, but this one works. So I'm going to throw that in. Okay. And now I'm here. This is where I finished. And I'm going to go to the front loop of the next stitch down, pull through. Then I'm going to go through pointing up, pull through. Next loop is down. Next loop is up. Next loop is down. And our final loop is up. Okay, and that's our end. And then you're going to snugly pull, but be careful not to snap your yarn, especially if you're using Parfait Chunky. You don't want it to snap off. Okay, and then what I like to do is bring that tail down through the center and out the bottom. And sometimes I like to just do a little extra stitch to weave it in so it doesn't come poking out. Okay. And snip that off. There's our body of our little chubby bat. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the ears. And And in order to do that, we are going to need to create a slip stitch. Okay. Now we're going to go into the top of our bat where we want our ears to poke out from. I'm just going through the row above the eyes here, off to the side. So I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to come back down into the next, basically the next row on top here, and slip stitch there. And it creates like this little ear. I'm going to snip that off. I'm going to pull it out. So now I have my ear, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie those two. Here we have our cute little ear. Okay, we're going to repeat that on the other side. So it is a slip stitch. And then same place on the other side behind the eye there. Grab your slip stitch and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to go to the next stitch on top here. And slip stitch there. Snip and pull out. Okay, and then I'm going to tie those tails together. Okay, and then this is what I like to do, is I like to go from another point in the plushie here and go through, and I think I might even go in with my needle. I'm going to go down below the ear and then out just any point in the plushie. I'm going to do that with both tails. It just gives it that extra security, because we're going to tie it down at the bottom there too. Through. Okay, shedding like crazy. Okay, so I'm going to tie that, and then I'll probably snip it and then tuck it inside the body. Okay. And then I will repeat that on the other ear. And tuck that inside. Okay, so here we have our little bat body, and I'm gonna go ahead and put in some little fangs. I'm gonna go from the side or the back and create a little V for the mouth. And I'm going to go through the other side, and I'm going to come out from the center, and that's going to catch the yarn and create this little V shape here, just a little. Okay, so it'll create this little V. Now I'm going back out the same side where I had my initial entry point. Normally I would do this in probably like an acrylic or a cotton, but this is the black I have on hand right now. So it's the one I'm using. And then at this point I'll go in and make some little micro adjustments. So pull pull that center just up just a little bit looser until it's the shape I like. Okay, tie it off and then snip it. Tie that off. And then snip that down, and then I will tuck it in. Okay, so there he is, and then I might even go in with some white. Has a little fang, maybe right here. Just a little one, and then I'll go out the other side to create another little baby fang. And I'll go out that same entry point. Make some micro adjustments. There you go. And then I will tie off, tie a little knot, snip off, tuck it inside the body. Okay, and there we go. We have our little bat's face. Now it's a little hard because it's dark colors in the dark here, but there it is. And now we are going to work on those bat wings. Bat wings are going to be working in rows. So we're going to start with a chain of 13. And we're going to be making 2 of these. So we're going to start with a chain 13. So here's my slip stitch, and then a chain. If you don't know how to do a chain, I have a video on that, but I'm going to just grab, pull through. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 13. So chain 13, and now we are going to do 12 single crochets in the bumps. So we're going to go second chain from the hook, and I like to work in the back bumps of that starting chain. Second chain from the hook, I'm going to go in, and I'm going to single crochet 12 down this chain. You're going to do the same thing, single crochet down the chain, and I will meet you at the end. God damn it, go in. I get twisted. We have reached our 12 single crochet. And now what we're going to do is I am going to be turning, going the opposite direction, but we're going to be we've reached the end of this first row, And what we're gonna do now is turn, and we're gonna work 4 less than we did before. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1, and we're going to do 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 5. 6, 7, and 8. Okay, I misspoke. We're going to do 2 less, so we're going to get to 10. So 8, 9, and 10. There we go. That's right. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn. I'm going to go back the opposite direction. 1, 2. Okay, and then I am going to chain 1, turn. Okay, and then we're going to go 2 less, so this time it will only get to 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Go all the way back across. Okay, now you can stop here, be more square. I'm gonna go one more round down, one more row. Okay, that's 3 rows. So our next one now, not 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. All right, we just finished that row. And now we're going to chain 1 in this, and then we're going to turn, and this time we are going to go 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 and 6. Chain 1, turn, and back across. Okay, and I think that is where I'm going to end. I like how it's curving around the body. To finish that off, I'm gonna pull a tail for sewing, snip off. Now this chenille, this purple, is having a really hard time with fraying, so I'm not sure that I will use it for sewing. I might go in with a purple acrylic and sew it in. Probably for the sake of the video, I'll probably just do white, but I would do a purple acrylic if I had it, and then wrap it. Like that, and then I'm going to do the second wing, and then I'll probably wrap it at an angle like this. Yeah, I think this is how it's going to go in. It'll be at an angle. I'm going to do the other wing right now. So we're just steps again. Single chain 13, and then a 12 single crochet across, turn, and then go 10, to 8, to 6. Okay, so again, this is our chain 13. 1, and then it'll be a single crochet 12 down the chain. Remember to start in that second chain from the hook. Now that we've gotten to the end of that first row, we're going to chain and turn. And this row, remember, we're going to get to 10. 10 single crochets. And I will meet you at the end there. Okay, now that we've gotten to 10, we're gonna chain 1 and turn, and we're gonna do 10 single crochets, working our way back. reached the end of that round or row. Now I am going to chain 1 and turn, and this time we are going 6. Sorry, 8, because we did 12, 10, now we're doing 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, we get to the end of 8, and we are going to chain 1, turn, and then this will be our final part of the wing. We'll go 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we are going to chain 1 and turn again. And then this will be our final 6 crochet, single crochets. And then I am going to chain 1, and then I'm going to fasten off and bring that tightly in. Okay, so now I have my second wing. That'll go on the other side of my bat. Super cute. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and sew that in together. So I know I wanted to do the diagonal, and I'll probably go about right there. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in and then up, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the bottom, just so I know I'm gonna hold it. It just holds it in place. So I'm going to do the same thing here, down through here, back up, back through. Probably just put that going. Okay. Actually, it's not fraying too bad, so I'm gonna just keep going with it until it decides to nag on me. And through, back up, and again, back up. Last one.
Awesome.
Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and then out the bottom so I can tie it off later, and then I'm gonna take that the top tail, do the same thing. And I'm gonna head it. Oh, that's good. Next, we're gonna cut out that same spot that I did in the beginning. I guess that they're coming out that same spot, and then I'm going to tie it off and snip it and tuck it. Sometimes I'll go in a different direction and then just snag it through. Okay. All right, so there's wing number 1. And you can go in and sew it closer to the body if you would like, but so far I like it. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Go through the top to hold it in place. This side seems to be fraying a lot more, so I want to be careful with this side. Same thing, I want to tilt. I'm going to position it and take that top tail and just stick it so that it holds it in place. And then I'll use the bottom tail to do most of the sewing. And if it starts to fray, I'll stop and get like a purple acrylic. Okay, and so I'm gonna go through and up. Anytime there's a loose end, I try to go in and that's where I'll sew into, just to make sure that everything stays looking nice. So I see this like bump here, so I'll probably go through that bump, back out. Okay, and then I see this bump, so I'll take that down. Just tightens everything up if you go through loose threads there. And then, okay, I already tucked away that first strand. I'm just stuff off extras. Then I'll take that through and bring that through the bottom. And because my first strand was a little shorter and it did not end well, I won't have anything for this one to tie into. That's okay. I'll just get it all the way through the body. And hopefully it'll be snug over there. We'll snip that off and tuck it in. Okay, and so there is our chubby little bat. And like I said, you can go in, you can sew your wings a little bit more to the body if you would like, but I'm gonna leave my little guy as is, and he is ready to go. So perfect for someone who likes bats, someone who likes spooky season. If you're decorating for Halloween, these would be super cute hanging around. So have fun with them. And if you do make one, please tag me on social media at Sarah Meets Art. I would love to see your chubby little bat.